This is the Conditionals and Loops activity in Java. I have the project open in Visual Studio Code here, along with the README file. Everything is Java ready, so it may take a few minutes on your machine to get everything up and running. Let's take a look at what we're doing. So given some problem statements, which I've implemented as tests, we want to implement solutions using each of the conditional or loop constructs available in your programming language. So some of the common conditional and loop structures for the conditionals, there are if-else statements. There are switch case statements, and then there are ternary operators. And some languages have additional conditionals. In addition, your loop constructs would generally be for or for each loop. So those are two different kinds of loops. There is a while loop and then a do while loop. So we're going to explore some of those as a part of this exercise. Objective 1, we're going to format a person name. So think of a person name as an object that has all of the different parts of a name. First name, last name, middle name, prefix, and suffix. So we're going to format those. And then on contact list for objective 2, we're going to have a list of contacts. And we want to implement a method that finds just the family members in that contact list. So that's the idea of what we're doing here. Start off with person tests. I have everything up and running. Let's go ahead and just make sure the tests are running. So I should get a bunch of failures. And we do. Perfect. So now that we have that up and running, we basically need to figure out why it's not working. So what we'll notice is that the actual value looks nothing like the name that we're looking for. So that's basically the problem. Looking at these tests, we are creating a person name with the different parts. So in this first case, it's John Smith, so we'd expect it to be formatted as John space Smith. The second one is John Lincoln Smith with no prefix or suffix. We'd expect it to be John space Lincoln space Smith. Then John Smith with an MR, so the Mr. in front of it, we'd expect it to be Mr. John Smith, and so on and so forth as we move down the additional tests down here. So these aren't working. Let's go ahead and take a look into toString, which is the method under test. And we'll notice that it's returning the base class or the superclass toString, and that's the problem. That's not what we want. Now there are several ways to do what we want to do. In fact, AI here is trying to help me with one way to do that. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do instead is we're simply going to use conditionals and string concatenation. Concatenation is where we take two strings and then basically put the end of one to the beginning of the other. We're going to use those to generate our values. So we'll start off just to try to get the first one to work. So this would be first to last. So we'll say this dot get first, and actually I can just go straight to the field. So this underscore first plus the string space. So this is going to create a string that is just a space, and then I'll add to that last. So this string concatenation, what it's doing is assuming it's my name, so Chad Greer. So Chad would be the first name, and then Greer would be the last name. What this line of code does is it takes Chad plus a space plus Greer, the final value being Chad space Greer. So this is what that ends up formatting into. So the plus sign is a concatenate operator that basically takes the values and adds them together, or puts one to the end of the other. So it's the string Chad plus the space plus Greer, the string Chad plus the space plus Greer. So that's what's happening with our concatenate operator. So let's go ahead and rerun our tests now. And we get one passing. Excellent. Let's move on to the next one now. So for the next one, we'll do the middle name. So let's just add that in. We'll say this first plus a space plus this middle plus space plus last. So first, space, middle, space, last. Let's rerun our tests. We get one passing, but the original one is failing. The original one is failing because, you may be able to figure this out, you'll notice that it is adding John plus space plus null plus space plus Smith. So this is not what we want. There's this null in the middle of it, and there's this space. So that's not what we want at all. So we need to do some conditional logic here. So we're here in the first side of the conditional logic. So what we'll do is we'll basically say if there's a middle name, then we do this one. Otherwise, we do the previous one we did. So let's do that. So we'll say if this dot middle is not equal to null, then we'll do this one. Else, we'll do the other one. So we'll just copy and paste this, remove the middle and a space. And so we say, if there's a middle, do first, middle, last. Otherwise, do first and last. Let's run this now. And we get a pass. So now we have two passes. Let's do one more, and then I'm going to turn the rest over to you. So the next one is going to include the prefix. So we've got prefix, first, and last. So prefix, first, and last, let's just add the prefix in. So we'll say, we'll just add, let's see, this dot prefix plus space plus first, last. So let's run these now. Now we've got all sorts of failures. So let's start off with the specific one we're trying to get working. We'll notice that it's coming back MR space John Smith, but we want it to be MR period John Smith. So one of the problems we're running into here is that the prefix is not formatting the way we want. So let's take a look and see what's going on. Prefix is a person name prefix object, and this is in enum. So these are the different values. By default in Java, when you do a toString on an enum, it's going to give you the name of it. But we need a period on Mr., Miss, Mrs., and Doctor, but no period on Sir. So we can't just add a period all the time. We need to do something else. So let's look and see what we can do here. I'm going to use a switch case statement in this case. So we'll say string prefix string value. We'll do switch on this underscore prefix. Now it's helping me out here. I'll have to decide if I want this. Case MR, Mr., Miss. That's actually really pretty darn good. So let's go and accept this and we'll see what it did. So we have a case, and I'm going to put these on different lines just because that's normally how we'd see these. All right, let's talk through what's happening here. It's saying switch on the value, this underscore prefix, so whatever that prefix value is. In the case of MR, that also needs to be on a new line. It doesn't need to be, but you're typically going to see switch case statements this way. So I want to do it the way you're normally going to see it. So we're going to say if it's MR, if it's the Mr. object, then the prefix string value equals MR period. So we're going to format the string. If it's MS, then it's going to be MS period, and so on and so forth. And then the default is, if it's none of those, then we're going to send it to empty string. I'm actually going to do null on this, and I'll show you why I'm going to do null here in a moment. So if it's none of those, then it's null. Otherwise, it's going to be one of these values here. So this is our switch case statement. It's setting up the prefix string value. So now I can use the prefix string value. So let's run our tests again. All right, so now we're getting one of these passing, but the others are not. So again, we're not quite where we need to be. So if we look at what's going on here, we're getting, null pointers. Null pointer in here, so let's take a look. So there's a couple more issues we have coming in. So on both of these are coming on the null pointer exception. So let's fix that one first. So basically, we can't go person name prefix.ordinal because prefix is null. So prefix being null means I need to do something else. So let's basically do a check. So we'll default this to null, and we'll say if this dot prefix is not equal to null, then we'll do our switch case statement. Again, there are lots of ways to do this. This is not the only way. I can also now get rid of my default because I'm initializing it to null. So if it's anything else, it just won't do anything. So let's save this. Let's rerun our test. Let's see if we improve. We do. All right, so first middle is now working. First middle last, along with prefix first last. Now first last is not working. Well, notice what's happening is it's displaying it as null space John space Smith. And so the reason for that is prefix string value is null. So we need to now detect if the prefix string value is null. I could do this in a few different ways. The first way I could do it is I could say, let's just do a new one here, else if this dot, and not this, so we'll say prefix string value is not equal to null, then I could simply return the prefix string value first last. And then finally, down here, I would get rid of this because this is my fall through case, which is just first last. So this is one way to do it. I could also nest it inside the other one. So let me show you what that looks like now. Let's just copy that. We'll say if it is really annoying me that it keeps trying to help me. All right, there we go. So here's the other way to do this, where I've nested an if-else block inside either an if or an else block. So this is another way to go. Either are fine, and these aren't the only ways as well, but I wanted to show you a couple of different ways we could do this. So now I'm detecting those, and this is why I defaulted to null. If the prefix string value is null, then we're going to drop down to this last case. If it's not null, then we format with whatever it happens to be. So let's run our tests again. And we have 3 passing tests. So at this point, what's left is we need to do first last suffix. So you'll need to figure out how to format the suffix. Very similar. We're building on these concepts. So suffix is another enum. You can go to definition, here are the different values. So we'll need to figure out how to set those up. You could do a similar switch case statement inside your code. And then you'll need to do some checking, and you'll need to probably do some nested if-else statements. And then basically once you get through those, it's just formatting the last few. So I'll let you finish up those on your own. Definitely explore some of those options. We're going to switch gears and move on to objective 2 now. So objective 2, we're looking at the contact list. So let's go ahead here, and we'll see that what we're doing in these cases is we're creating contacts, so a list of contacts, and we'll see the contact type, child, parent, spouse. So if I go to definition on these, It's child, parent, spouse, friend, acquaintance, referral. For family members, we're interested in the top three, child, parent, or spouse. We want to ignore friend, acquaintance, referral. So this top one creates a list that's only child, parent, spouse. We're going to find the family members. We would expect them to be all three of those family members. The next one, we have mixed contacts. So we have child, parent, spouse, friend, acquaintance, referral. We would expect it to be just the first three. So we're going to take the list, we're going to get the first three, limit 3, and then we would expect those to be the same. Down below, we have a list that is no family members. So we would expect this one to be empty. And then finally, no contacts at all, just an empty list. We'd expect it to be empty. So let's go ahead and head to find family members now. And we'll see that right now we're just returning an empty list, which is why a couple of these tests are passing and the others are failing. So anyone that expects an empty list is succeeding, but that's not exactly what we want. So let's start implementing this logic here. What we'll do is we'll create a list contact, and this will be our family members. We'll create this is a new array list, and nope, don't help me too much. So there's our family members array list. Then at the end of this, we're going to return those family members. And what we need to do in the middle is we need to loop through the contacts that are available to us. And if it's a family member type, we'll add it to family members. There are several ways to do this as well. This is just one way I'm going to show you, and I'm going to get you started. So we'll say for var contact in this. And I can do that because this extends array list. So this list is an array list, which means I can for over this list. So this is actually a for each loop, even though it doesn't use the for each keyword. In Java, this is a for each. We're for eaching over this, and that's the colon syntax here. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically detect one of these. So we'll say if contact dot, and we'll need the type. So let's go and go to definition on contact type. So we want to get the contact type. So if contact dot get contact type equals contact type, and I'm going to just pick one. We'll do spouse. So if it's the spouse, what we're going to do is we're going to go to family members and we're going to add the contact. So spouses are now going to get added to family members and returned at the end. So let's rerun our tests. Not quite working yet. Now we're getting closer because we're adding spouse. We need to also add parent and child. So let's do parent first. So there's, again, a few different ways to do this. One thing I could do is an or. So I could say if it's spouse or if it's parent. So I could say, now I have to redo some of this. So let's say if get contact type equals contact type dot parent. So here's what that code looks like. If the contact type is spouse or the contact type is parent, then add them. So this is one way to do it. Another way to do this would be, and I'm going to cut this because I'm going to use that conditional again. I could simply add another if statement. If contact type equal parent, well, family members dot add contact. Both of those work. So if you use the or syntax on a single line, that works. If you do another if down here, that works as well. What do we have? I don't know why I was complaining. So that's another way to go. The last one you'd need to add is child. So you'd want to add that. And again, I'll leave that up to you. This is using a for each loop. There are other ways to do this. You might want to practice with a for loop. You might want to practice with a while loop or a do while loop. Definitely explore some of these. The more you use these, the more you're going to understand how each construct works, what the code looks like, and then you can figure out the trade-offs. But that basically concludes the activity for now. Go and explore this and let me know if you have questions.